And I'm alive. That is pretty cool. Today is 22nd of February 2026, Sunday. And before beginning, again, a quote from Meditations, Marcus Aurelius is today's quote is from apparently book number 8 and quote number 42. It is, it is not fit that I should give myself pain, for I have never intentionally given pain to anyone. So, like, yes, that is something to think about. Do not put yourself in misery, it seems to say. Okay, cool. And yes, I was streaming before this, like for 1 hour, but the stream was somehow private and no one was able to see it. So, yep, I've been streaming for 1 hour and it was private. A bit sad, but fine. Wait, why is the timeline beginning from 5:28 a.m.? Fine. Okay, so what has been happening? Yes, I am just refactoring the code. Here, A rook and H rook for flags for checking if the king can castle or not. Here, the king, this is move validation. If the king has moved in x direction, which is like in column by two squares, x is column by two squares, and not in the y direction. Then we find the flanks for the A rook and the H rook, rook and the A files are I think they are called file and the rook in the H file. And after that, we just have to check if the king can move in that direction, depending on the direction. Direction would be just dx straight. Yes, direction is just dx. So uh, if and the flag would be on. Yep. If flag on, then if the flag is on, only in that case can we move the rook. If the flag is on, then we can can move. Wait, shit, no. The opposite would make more sense. If the flag is on, then then the rook or king has moved, and we cannot make the move. That makes sense. Otherwise, we can make the move. So if the flag is off, and also depending on the direction, if yeah, okay, direction if dx, we are checking for. Okay, we have just gotten the flag here. Yes, we have to take its or right. We have to take its or. No, we don't have to take its or. We have to take its and. Yes, with the special moves flags, take its and we are cool. It doesn't seem so we are cool. Uh, Special moves flags, take its and with this. But that is no. Why? What is the error? Number big int. Both must be numbers. The right hand side of an arithmetic operation must be a number. So what is the current right hand side? It has the same type as this thing, which is either this, whatever it is, or this fractional digit number. Wait, that does not make sense. What is the type now? Still the same type. Okay, depending on the color. If the color is white, then we get white H rook. Two fixed does not make sense. enums.whr. Now it looks better. Yep. Enum, we are getting enum, which is exactly a number. So that should be good. And special moves flags and cool. Go to the end, copy, go to the end, paste, depending on white, white, a rook, and this also a rook. Cool. So we have the rooks flags depending on the direction. If the direction is left, if dx greater than 0, which means the king moved towards right by two things. And okay, if the king moved towards right, if the king moved towards right, then the flag, if the king moved towards right, and h not h rook flag, and not h rook flag. That is, h rook flag is off, and the king moved towards right. Then okay. Otherwise, if the king moved towards right too, and the h rook flag is on, then return false. This move cannot be made. Else, if king moved towards left and a rook flag is on, then also return false. And else, what is else? Wait, I think dx, yes, shit, dx and dy are absolute values, so they are not very good. Yep, we should not. Direction would be, which is just dx. Cool. Direction would be this. Cool. And here, instead of this, we can say direction. Cool. And okay, this is cool. Hello, nice Mac. Thank you. Hello, just asking, you did complete backend by boot dev? No, no. Backend, I want to do it. I want to, like, really want to do it. After I am done with this project, I will be doing it. And yo, hello. Shit, I was streaming for 1 hour, but the stream was private, so no one was able to see it. But I have been streaming since 10:30, and I noticed later. I thought this is very suspicious. No one is coming. I thought, okay, that makes sense, but still, someone could have dropped. Then I checked, and it was private. So yeah, that is very sad. And also, look at this, like very fast switching, just like Linux. But the downside of this is if I want to do this switching between applications very fast, I cannot have these applications in full window mode. They have to be on one of the desktops. Yep. And yeah, you were wondering. Shit, my bad. And I have also increased the kbps to be 10,000 kbps from 1500, what it was earlier. I think that might help in some way. Okay, and now refactoring. There is an algorithm which is this. I saw here, and we can use this to figure out if a position has repeated a certain number of times, because we want to check threefold repetition in in chess. And if the moves have repeated, if a board position has repeated 3 times, then the game draws. And there is this algorithm which we can use. This algorithm has hashes for 4 things. One is for each piece at each square. One is for deciding which sides move it is, and 4 hashes for castling rights, like white king with left rook, white king with right rook, and same for the black one. And I don't understand how they are using 8 numbers to define en passant, because that does not make sense. How can they use 8 numbers for defining en passant? Like, shit, because there are 16. pawns in total, and each pawn can make a move of like two squares in their first move. So we would need 16 numbers at least, but they are using 8 somehow. I don't know how. I'll be using 16, and let's see here. And yes, since I changed the flags earlier, I was using 6 flags for castling rights. Now I am using 4, so I have to refactor some code here. Cool. That makes sense. And else would be else. This is for move validation. Check for king. Get the pure movement. If the king moved by this much amount, then that is cool. But if the king didn't move that way, then the dx and dy must both be equal to 1. There is no other move a king can move. Yep, so this is cool. This is cool. We are updating these correctly. Cool. And there is no error now. Shit, that is very cool. I think in the board update game object, here we have to update the flags more clearly, or like we have to refactor how we are updating the flags. If it was a king move or if it was a rook move. If the flag is on, if flag is on, then the piece has moved and cannot castle. So we have to see when the king moves, we will just say no one can move later on. And we are just checking the color. Depending on the color, we are saying that these things cannot move. And we have to turn on this bit so we can take or, and that would be fine. Or would actually be better choice here. Here also turn on. And when the rook moves, if the rook moved from its initial position, which depends on the column, if the rook moved from the column, then if the column was 0, which means a column, a file, and if source square was a black rook, if the piece was a black rook and it was column 1, then black a rook, turn that flag on. King cannot castle in this way, and if it was white, then war, war, it is not war. Otherwise, if it was the H column, then also do this. So we are updating the flags correctly for the rooks at least, and now I think we can start working on this Zobrist algorithm, hash implementation algorithm. And no problem anywhere else, it seems. Nope. Everything else seems to be cool for now. Okay, cool. So we have hashes for the colors. We have hashes for pieces on squares. We have hashes for the castling, right? Now we need hashes for on plus on. On plus on. Initialize special moves flags. There are more special moves than these. There are more special moves than these, and I want to iterate over these enums. Const special flags, special move flags enums values is would be object for a special move enums dot filter value for every value whose type is a number, just go there. Yep. And then we will iterate over let flag of special, the this thing that we like just created. Okay, and yeah, we will just say set hash equal to a random number. So pressed dot get. Yes, cool. Is that correct? That is correct. We have a function that generates a random number. We have a function that initializes all of these flags. Cool. Now we need to, what do we need now? Now we need a function that gives us these flags for something. Yes. So static get uh, these square flag. This is a function which takes in a piece and a square. So no, piece square is not a thing, is it? Piece square is actually a thing. And return this. And since there exists a flag for every piece and square, so this will as this will return a begin. Cool. And uh, function which generates random 64-bit numbers. Cool. And initialize the hashes. Next, better getter functions. I think these are called functions for pieces and flags and chance. This is a getter function. We need another getter function. Get piece square. No, get piece, not flag hash. And here get chance hash piece square. This does not take in piece square. This will take in color dot color and return this dot chance hashes dot get color as begin. Cool. And another would be get chance hash and get flag hash. And this takes in a special move. Flag, one flag, and it returns the flag as a begin. Cool. That is actually pretty cool. Okay. Hello. Shit. Okay. Okay. And those are some chats. Why don't you write a custom ghosty theme and use that? It looks like much better than how it does now. I mean, it is fine. Hello. Yes, I didn't give yesterday's contest. What is your opinion on JavaScript? Oh, what do you mean by my opinion? JavaScript is just JavaScript. It is what we have. It is what we have ended up with because I feel it is the worst language that I've ever tried to learn. It has a lot of crazy things, but TypeScript is better because of the strictness. JavaScript is just too flexible. There were two contests yesterday, lineup ABC. Okay, shit, I do not give K on ad coders and CF both, but CF got hacked yesterday. CF code courses got hacked, like actually legit hacked. And if you go to some article, there were, if you went to code forces when it was hacked, you would see some announcements, and it was by this user 7xd 79xd, and he gave all of these messages. Hello, I hacked CF. I'm your beloved 79XD, and you should obey me. And all of these things. Wait, let me just do a little bit hacking and stuff. Guys, I cannot hack anymore. I can only send announcements. That is what he was doing. Chinese translation warning. Hold your breath. It is time to see. Hold your breath. Shit, there is also Chinese if you are into that sort of thing. It was cool. And he was, I think, even breaking down emotionally. Uh, J said worst. Try C++ is cool. You know, Kevin on CF. Kevin, yes, Kevin. Kevin is like on CF actually. Here, Kevin. Yo, he's pretty good from China. Uh, top 10. He got selected in 101 team of China. Wait, what is 101 team of China? He was alive 25 hours ago. Solved 1000 problems, 800. Okay, get flag hash. We can get the hashes. Okay, what happens when we also need a initial? Yes, yes, yes. Initial board hash. Initial board hash. Yep. This will not take in anything. This will just return a big int. Yep. Let hash begin 0. And is that correct? Go through each piece, get the numerical values. Uh, that is not that is very like inconvenient. We could just go through, we have to go through all of these values actually, all the values in these maps. Get piece square hash. Get piece. Nope, this is not very good. This is not very good. We can directly go through the values. For let, how do we go through the values of a map? For let piece square of, yes, keys, no, dot values. Values is much better, and hash, take the hash with piece square. Yep, and XOR piece, XOR with piece squares, and IOI. China, okay, shit, IOI, China team. Okay, International Olympiad of Informatics. Yep, shit, that is IOI. Yep. I am amazing. How are you? By the way, my exam is coming soon. So why are you not studying? Go and study physics. Your physics exams. Shit. Wait. By soon, do you mean like just in 1 or 2 hours or in a few days? You should go and study. But yeah, you will get good marks. Physics is over. Shit. I thought computer programming was over. But okay. For let piece square chance on this and take hash with chance. Cool. The AI is like pretty good. Let flags of this dot get pieces flags dot values and hash, take hash with flags. Cool. With pieces chance and flag. Cool. We have initialized the hash and then return the hash. Cool. Get an initial hash value. Get some initial hash value and wait, I don't think we need anything else other than this. Nope, we do not need. We have to update the game object though. Yep, we have to update the game object and add a map from a big int to a count, a single integer, so that we know since each board position is going to have its own hash, we can, when we are updating the board, we will get the new hash. I think if we give the move in here and write a function here which generates the new hash given the move and the special flags, that would be very useful. New hash for move. So this would take in static get next hash takes in big int the current hash piece square move. What even is piece square is not even right. Move would not be of type string, it would be of type move index. Move index we need color whose move it was, or we can just go to that place and see which color it is. Board would be of type board, which is not known here. 4. Wait. Cannot find name board. Okay, now board is available. Oh, in a few days. Should why are these things coming like this? Like the chess match we played. Next subject, chemistry. Shit, chemistry is crazy. Shit, you also have your. It would be your second exam, JE. Yeah. Shit, you play chess. That is cool. Okay, when we have the move, we also have the current hash. So get details. No, we already have that. We have the details about the move. Row is not available. Okay, target square, and we will suppose that this move is possible. So what we have to do is uh, take your with the previous mm, hash values and then again with the new hash values. That is how we update hash incrementally. And there are just three things you have to keep in mind. One is piece square. That is easy to do. You'll go to the position, find the piece. Yep, find the piece. And chance hash, whose chance it is, it would be the chance of the color of the piece. I think color should also be given here. That would be very appreciated. Color of type color. So color would do the thing for this hash. For this hash, flags are not updated. Shit. This would require more logic. This would require more logic. So update the piece square flags. And I don't think big int is passed by reference, so we can make changes to this directly. It's big int. No, big int is not passed by reference. Cool. So you'll make changes to this directly. And how do we do this? Uh, piece and square, piece and square. Sure. Take hash of the current hash with this get piece square hash, where the piece is the target piece and the source piece. We can take, yeah, order does not matter. Then update the chance flag. Is this how we do it? Is this how we update the chance flag? Don't we have to also do the opposite? Don't we also have to do the opposite? I think we have to. Yep, this color, if color is, let's make this shit here, color as colors, and Colors. Okay. If color is white, then take hash with the black color. If the current color is black, then take hash with the white color. Okay. And after this, update the flags. For flags, it is crazy for flags. There are castling flags. Yep, it is. Wait, it is not actually crazy. We just have to go through all the flags like we did when we were initializing them. Here, initializing flag is we just have to go through all the flags like we did here. And instead of this dot flag dot set, we will here do get Zobris dot get num uh, for in this, and this dot flag possibly undefined. No, it will not be undefined since we already have set as begin. Okay, but this is wrong. Like, yes, of course, we are just taking Zor with everything. Const c hash equals this. Current hash is this. Okay, and now wait, no, we have the flag and we have the hash. So yes, we need to get the current value and also the updated value, and updated value of the hash would depend. Shit, no, we need another function that could update a flag, that could update the flags taken the move, a function which takes the move and updates the flag. That would be cool. Yes, a function that updates the flags and gives us the new flags. Cool. Aldehyde ketone. Shit, that is crazy. Chemistry. Walter White. Yes, a function which can update the flags would be very appreciated. Export this time. Export. Uh, update the or when the updated flags export const update flags. This thing takes in the current flag. This does not take in the board. This just takes in the current flag and the move. Those should be enough. Those should be enough. And color, yes, color would be needed. Special flag is not a number actually. And instead of sending string, I would prefer sending move index. And this is not a number. This is a specific thing. A special move flags enums and move, and color would also be much appreciated here. Color is of type colors. Cool. Get the squares, and we already update game object here. Special flags, we already have something. All this logic to update the flags. We have all this logic to update the flags. Let's say board is also given, just in case. Since this is past my reference, so nothing bad is going to happen. Game object, no, we do not pass in the game object. Bow. would cannot redeclare scoped variable const. What does that mean? Redeclare. Who is redeclaring here? Game object. Should I copied more than I should have? Check for rook moves. Update flags. Okay, shit, I went back to the same function. Okay, my bad. Here, update the moves and uh, new flag is equal to get a no update flags and game object but special flags equals new flag void. Okay, we have to tell that this function is going to return something that is cool. Source square equals source square like this. Skip this part in that case. Source row shit. Source row as row. Okay. And game object instead of game object flag, we will be updating the flag. Special flags. Game object dot flags. And here also special flags and just substitute game object dot with emptiness. Cool. And at the end, then special flags. Cool. That sounds very good. Okay. Es funktioniert. Check for king moves. If the flag is one of the pieces that has moved, cannot castle, and we are legit not checking. Here we only have to update, so we do not have to validate. We know that the move is validated. We also have to update the flags for pawn movements. Okay, check for rook movement. Check for king movement if the king has moved. Then or we have to turn on the flag. Yes, we have to turn on the flag. Make sense? That makes sense. Good. We turn on the flags if the king moved. If the rook moved, then we have to turn on a very specific flag only, like this. Okay. Okay, and return special moves. Yep. And now we have to check for rook movements, and this seems to be correct depending on the column. If the column, wait, we don't have to actually check for that else. If the column is 0, then and depending on the color, we update the flag, and here we can do this depending on the color. Shit, we don't even need source square. No, we don't need source square, at least here. We do need source square here so that we know which piece moved. Which piece moved, yes. But you don't need source square here. But we can skip this part and here directly write in color equals. If the color is white, then Special moves flags, WAHR, otherwise the other one. And we can remove these. If the color is white, then update the white H. H rook, no, 0 is A actually. And this is also A. And here also. Else, if else column equals 7, which should be column size -1. Special moves depending, yeah, this should be R, and this should be H, and this should also be H. Okay. Yep, depending on the column of the rook. Cool. And then return special flags. And now check for pawn movement. Check for pawn movement. So on passant, on passant. This is, yes. What this does is, if there is a pawn which moved, movement, if pawn moved by 2 squares, then update that flag to be on. Then update that flag to be on. Yep, update that flag to be on. If pawn moved by 2 squares, no, depending on the color and depending on, yes, first of all, else if the piece that moved was a pawn. Yes, else if the piece that moved was a pawn, then, wait, what does this say? If the color was white and row was 6, that is cool. If the color was white, then wait, no, we will not check for color just yet. Else if the color was black and the row was 1. But not just this, and the movement also has to be powerful. And T row, yes, that is much better. Cannot find T row, yes, of course, because we didn't consider T row. Now we have T row. And in this case, T row must be 3, I think. From 1 we go to 2, then to 3. Then turn this thing on. Otherwise, else, if none of that, then we wait, yes. Since shit, there are multiple pawns. Which pawn did move? We don't know. It depends on the column. Now we have to map columns from 0 to 7 onto these special move flags, for which we need another enum. We need another map. On passant. Shit, we don't need another map. We already have it. Pawn on passant. This maps number, which is pretty nice. We don't even need, yes, we don't even need to check for color because we already have the color. Yeah. Okay, cool. We already have the color. Very pretty cool. If it was a pawn that moved, if it was a pawn that moved, now first we have to check if the movement was by 2. Yes, if T row minus column row column equals 2, and wait, source column or current column. This has to be math. Yep, MA. Math.abs. Get the absolute value if the movement of pawn is by 2. Then special flag. So what was the name of that enum? Pawn on song. Dot get for this row and column and treat this as number. For this row and source column, say that we can move in this direction. Otherwise, if it was anything else, then turn off those flags. Nope. I think this is not a very good way. Yes, this is not a very good way. No, this is nice. This would require 16 extra steps for each move that is made by a player. Because if the movement is not made by a pawn, or if the movement is not like this, okay, uh, let no pawn move equals true. No pawn move equals true. And only in this specific case, we will make it false. But else, if no pawn move, then we have to turn off all of the flags. Turn off all. Wait, do we have to turn off all the flags? Yes, we have to turn off all the flags. If there was a chance for en passant in the last move, but not anymore, then we will have to turn it off. Yes, we could look at the last move, but that does not. That is not like very cool to do. Wait, we can actually look at the last move. It would be actually pretty cool. But then we would have to send the last move to update flags, which is not very cool. Shit. I guess yes, we will send the last move to update flags. Mm, it's just better to do it this way. Uh, special moves move. Last move would also be of type move index. Cool. Okay, and if the last move was a pawn move by 2 squares. If the last move was a pawn move by 2 squares. Wait, but shit, we changed the fact that we are not sending the last move to any function. Yes, we did that. Okay, now some special help would be pretty appreciated from ChatGPT. And before moving, I would like to go to the washroom and I will be right back in 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Yep, I am back and let's just continue. We can talk to ChatGPT like directly with voice talk. That is cool. Hello.
Glad that, hey, I'm still here. If anything else comes up or you hit another snag, whether it's LSP, NearVim, or just something tricky in code, just give me a shout. We'll keep it practical and get you sorted.
Yep, I'm building a chess game, and in that chess game, I want to keep flags which will tell me if there is a en passant possible for a particular move or not. The current approach that I have, it has 16 flags, one for each possible pawn, and if a pawn moves by two squares from its original initial position forward, then I turn that flag on, and on the next move, I would have to turn it off. But this is very problematic because after every move, which is not a pawn move by two squares, I would have to go through all of the flags which are on and turn them off. And even if the pawn move is, if the current move is a pawn move by two squares, still I would have to turn off all the on plus on flags for the last pawn move.
Ah, yeah, I see the pain point. You're essentially tracking too much state manually, which is easy to lose track of. What you need is a more centralized mapping. So instead of a flag per pawn, you keep just one or two active flags. For example, you can have a single variable that stores which pawn is eligible for %, like an index. Then each time a pawn moves, you update that index. If a new two square move happens, you reset it. Otherwise, it clears automatically after a turn. In short, you're reducing the number of flags by keeping one hot pawn position and simply resetting it every move. That way you don't loop through every pawn. You just check the one active candidate. Keeps it lean and avoids the headache.
But let's say if the last move was a pawn move by two squares and the current move is something else, then how do I know which pawn moved last? I would have to give in the last move, right? Or there cannot be any other way. Or I would have to go through all of the pawns which were there and turn them off.
Exactly, you've nailed it. Without explicitly storing which pawn just moved, you don't have a shortcut. So either you attach the last move to the game state and track that, or if you really want a lightweight approach, you scan the board after every move to figure out which pawn did the two square shift. In short, yes, you need that last move as a reference. No magic bullet there. You just have to keep a log of what happened and use it to narrow down which pawn is % eligible. So yes, store that last move and you'll have the answer every time.
Okay, and how can I use 8 or a smaller amount of bits than 16? Because right now I do not know about any other approach other than using 16 bits for the pawns.
Exactly. So instead of giving each pawn its own bit, you can compress the state. For example, assign each pawn a unique index from 0 to 15. Then instead of 16 separate flags, you store a single 4-bit number that points to which pawn, if any, is eligible. In other words, the value is just the index of the hot pawn. If no pawn is eligible, it's 0. Now, you still get a contact representation.
Shit, that is so good. Shit, that is so good. Shit, that is so good. That is so good. We'll turn this thing on later, but before this, we will turn all those pawn flags off. Shit, that is like very shit. That is very good. That is very good. That is very good. So what we need is we need to find the smallest pawn value, smallest pawn value. And we need this on percent pawn. We do, and by the way, this is like actually a bit retarded approach, but okay, fine. Your pieces, nope. Special moves flags which are right here, and the smallest pawn is this one, which is 4. This should actually be 3, and this should be 4. This should be yeah, cool. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's cool. 20 flags in total, 8 for pawns, 6 flags for the rook and stuff, and 8, that should be 22. So there is some repetition. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 plus 8 is 12, and then what? This should be 22. Why is it 20? Okay, because there are 4 flags. Okay, yes, 20 makes sense. 20 makes sense. We need to export one more thing after this. Smallest pawn, 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 pawn bit. This would be social flags enums dot WPO. Put this, export this, go to game state, and when we are doing anything here, we just have to take a single and we don't have to go through all of the paths. Yes, of all the and poisson flags for this, to turn off all the poisson flags. And now we will do take a special move, and not with this, but uh, smallest poisson pawn -1. That is good. -1. That is good. Cool. That is much better. That is much better. I think yes, we are handling everything okay here. Updating the flags. This takes care of the rook. Takes care of the king movement. Maybe we should like do this here. Make more sense. Yep. Uh, king movement for the rook movement and for the pawn movement also. That is pretty good. And we also have an error. No, we don't require the last move any longer. We don't require the last move any longer. Cool. That is actually pretty cool. Yep. Wait, hello. Ashwin, are you reading comments too? Yes, I am reading. There was like no one here, and I cannot see the time. Wait, I think timestamps, postgates. Let's go. 23 minutes ago. Hello. Yep. And my phone is on not charge. Still cool. Cool. Okay, so we are updating the flags. That is very cool. Update, go to the update game object, and cool. This updates the flags, and yes, special move flags. Okay, are these the only things? Time, moves, and flags. Time, moves, and update the flags. Okay, time, moves, and flags. And do we need to update anything else? Nope. We have updated the update logic. We have to also go to is move okay and move validation logic. Yes. Shit. Yes, move validation logic. This does take in special values. Details about the moves. Check whether the move makes sense on its own. And wait a movement. One minute, please. Yo, I'm back. I was like interrupted for a minute. I'm back. Hello. What you took on quite a big project for your first backend project? It is fine. Yeah, that or Oracle project cracked I've made. Yes, seems quite very appropriate word. Sexy. I was thinking of trying to rebuild it in Go. Yes, you were very audible about your thoughts. I was thinking how about collaborating on that to build it together. We can use chamber bracelets, bubble tea for TY. Right now, I'm not doing Go. Like right now, this is uh, quite a bit of stuff to do, and I'm not getting into Go right now. Like, yep. So not for now, but maybe later on. Yep, after this. Yeah, when this is done, and I want to do this in today. I want to finish the backend. At least, yep. Today I want to just complete all the move validation, not in the stream because, yep, like, yeah, I won't be able to do it in the stream, but yep, after the stream, I want to complete the backend and then start working on the front end from tomorrow. That would be cool. No, context is move okay without context. This takes in the special flags, square empty and everything, and check for a knight, a rook. No, we have to just update the pawn. Is the king logic correct? Yep, king logic is correct. For pawn is this whole shit. Pawn is the smallest piece, like the least significant piece, and its move validation is the most complex. Okay, let possible is false. Then wait, yep. And okay, did you saw why? Yes, talking to ChatGPT is quite effective. Like, quite effective. Okay, if dx equals 0, that is no horizontal movement. Then either the pawn moves by one square or by two squares. Cool, makes sense. Either the pawn moves by one square or by two squares. So, yep, we got the distance and also the direction, magnitude, and dist. Check the magnitude. If magnitude 1, then what are we checking? Color white. Is that it can only go forward in one direction, and then there is no piece at the target place, then we are okay. It's because there cannot be any other piece. There can only be empty piece. Pawn cannot take by moving forward. And if the magnitude is 2, then target piece must be empty and source row must be 1 if we are white, and source row must be row size -2 if we are black. But this was if there is no horizontal movement. But if there is some horizontal movement, and yes, in all these cases, we are turning on that variable possible. And here, if there is some horizontal movement, and it can only be 1, 1, no other, no more than that. Capture, check for capture. For capture, we are checking if the current color is black, white, and we are moving in Y forward. Why forward? Because we are going up in the row. For color white can only go up in row. Piece color dot and target piece must be black. Cool. And otherwise, yep, check for the other piece. And it's this shit. Yes. Flag location and person dot get piece for wait, this doesn't even make sense. Why are we all this is wrong. This is like legit wrong. No, shit, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine. This is exactly fine. Yes, cool. If the source row is 2, source row 2 means that the current pawn is black. If the current pawn is black, then the pawn about whom we are talking is source row -1. We got the correct row. And Otherwise, source row plus one above. Yes, we got the row. And column is just target column. Correct. We should, this is actually, yes, this is fine. Tickets and with flag. Shit. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. Shit. Okay, so move validation logic is correct, and move updation logic is also correct. At least like working correct. So that is good. That is good. Now we can finally move to Zobrist. See, yep, Zobrist. Next hash. This takes in the original hash, gets this, and shit. No, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine. We have C hash for all the flags. We have to get their original value and the updated flag value. But we have to do this for each of them. Shit, yes, shit. We will be calculating Zobrist flag. This function would be running for each move that is made by every player. We do not want to increase this much share. This is too much work. This is too much. So what is happening right now is that for each move, for legit each move, there is about 1,000 line of code that is running. I would say even more than 1,000 line of code that is running for each move. That is crazy, just crazy. Mhm. C hash, this dot hash. Wait, we just have to find the one which is on the flags must be same. The flags must be same. Okay, the flags on plus one, right? Or maybe we can skip this. We can skip this part because this is very niche. This is very niche. This is very niche, I think. Okay, I'm creating a Zobrist hash for my board positions, for my move validation and checking threefold repetition. But if I were to also include on person rights for every board position, that is increasing the complexity, first of all, and also the time it takes for the Zobrist hash to be updated. So I wanted to ask how rare is it that on person is the factor which stops threefold repetition. Yes.
Ah, good point. Ampersand is definitely a subtle edge case, but it's actually pretty rare in practical games. In a large number of chess games, players often don't leave a pawn in a two-square ampersand window. It's a situational tactical trick, so most threefold repetitions come from simple repeated positions, same moves, same board, same castling rights, rather than this niche ampersand factor. So in reality, adding ampersand flags to the hash is kind of overkill for most use cases. You'd mostly be fine just using simple state or just tracking it when you need to, like on demand, and keep the Zobrist hash lean.
That makes sense. So we can skip this part. Update chance, yes, chance flags, square flags, special flags. We won't have special flags for on plus one, but we would have special flags for when initialize the flag hashes for canceling rights and not for And this we can do manually. Yeah, we don't even have to loop. We can just do manually. And this will be this dot get chance. Nope. Initial flags hashes. Flags hashes or castle would be nice. Get castle hashes. There are just four, and here also get. Wait, no, why get? Get doesn't make sense. Castle hashes dot set. There are four castle hashes. Special moves WR and this white A rook, white H rook, and black A rook, black H rook. Set random numbers to these values. Cool. And get not special flags. Get castle flag and castle hashes flag. Yeah, flag is fine. Flag is fine. This is for initializing a board. Okay, this is like legit wrong. This is legit wrong. The initial board could actually be empty. It doesn't even make sense. Yes, the initial board could actually be empty. For the Zobrist hash, I want a hash for the initial board, and I don't actually have to take Zor with the current board positions. I can just have it start at 0 and it wouldn't make anything wrong. It would still be fine, right?
Ah, exactly. That's a clever simplification. If you're only using the Zobrist hash at the start of the game or just want a baseline, you can totally do that. You initialize it to 0, and then every time a move happens, you just XOR the piece at the move's position with its random value. By starting from 0, you don't get any accidental drift. It's just a clean accumulation of changes. So yet, no need to overcomplicate it. Keep it simple, and you'll still catch all the unique board states.
In the school, we can just talk to ChatGPT. That's like pretty cool. Okay, and get next hash. We have initialized hash. That is cool. Update the chance flag. That is cool. And update the canceling uh canceling rights. Okay, and update the canceling rights. Okay. This thing has wait, this hash. Okay, this is taking the hash. But for canceling rights, we need the special moves flags. Special moves. Uh, cool. Update the castling rights. Okay, how do we do this? There are four possible castle rights. I think for four of them, we can just shit. That makes sense. That makes sense. Since there are only four bits, since there are only four bits which define one bit here, one bit here, one bit here, and one bit here, these four bits define the castling rights, and there are in total 16 possible states that this whole thing can be in. So instead of having a random value for specifically this byte and one for specifically this byte, one for this, I could have 16 random variables for all the possible combinations and just take the special flag right now and also the updated special flag, and take the XOR with the original random value and the XOR with the new random value of for the lower 4 bits which represent cancelling rights. The hash, okay, that is much better. That is shit. That is like actually much better. So instead of this uh, one random value for each possible states for the cancelling rights, 16 in total. Right. So for let I equal 0, I is smaller than 16, I plus plus. And we do this dot cancel hashes for I. Map every I to this. Okay. Lower 4 bits. Let get castle hash. Okay. Get castle hash has to be a better function than this. Cattle castle hash. Special moves flags. We lower bits. How do we get the lower bits? Peak and date and of this with this. Cool. 0 B 1 1 1 1. Cool. Uh, lower. So that we just get the lower bits and cool. That is actually pretty cool. Update flags given the board move everything. Yes, cool. Or maybe we can even get the updated flag right here. Maybe, but this is still fine. This is uh wait. This thing update flag. Like what is the time complexity for this? I think this is not very heavy function. This is pretty fine. So we can use this directly here. Cool. And then return hash. Cool. So we okay, I think that is good enough. That is actually good enough. Zobrist hash, we have a class and we can the only things that we need. This is public function. This, this is a public function and get random variable. This is a private static function. Get square hash, all of these, all yeah, they don't need, they are not needed outside private. This is also going to be like, yeah, private. Private, private, and no shit. Private and get next hash. This has to be a public function. Cool. And wait, shit. Everything seems to be okay right now. So we will run these things. Okay, there can be a problem. Okay, the front end will not initialize this function, only the back end will initialize this function. The front end will not initialize, only the back end will initialize. Okay, init server. Okay, which is like legit right here. Zobrist dot init initialize the hashes. Okay. Zobrist dot init, that is cool. And okay, there were a few things. Write a function that generates all possible moves. And yep, write a function that generates all possible moves. We have a way of checking for checkmate. We have a way of checking for a stalemate. We have a way of checking for repetition. Yes, we have a function for checking for repetition now. We have to check for time up. Yes, I will have to add that logic. Yep, but okay, let's keep this stream to this much for today. I did a stream before, it was just private. I messed up. I didn't change the status of the stream. So yep. And this would be it for today's stream. And thank you for being here. Today I will complete the backend, by the way. Yep, after the stream today I will. And thank you for being here. Bye.